Yeah, really just couldn't keep it up, get up to speed, excuse me. And that was the problem. We'll see if that change is adjusted in picks and bans as we get into game number 2. Obey Alliance versus Team Dignitas. Obey this time on the this side of the screen with the first pick. I always forget it's mirrored. But we'll see Obey with the first selection. They're going to ban out the Morgan nice and quick.
And don't want to first pick it because you see what kind of happens to you when you first pick that god.
Yeah.
Though Obey has first picked it in the past. I'm a little bit surprised that they aren't willing to pick it in that slot, but clearly looking for one of the 2 warriors with that soul ban. Dignitas does not take the bait, leaves both Osiris and Bellona open, and bans away the Naja from Twig. Love that ban from Dig.
I still like the Morgan as the first selection. Obey Alliance have a bigger picture in mind as they go with the Terra. I think it just alters the way the enemy team has to select too much, but Obey don't want to go for it. Now, you were talking, you liked the assassin bans by Dignitas.
Yeah, I really like the Naja one in particular. Serket, you just don't want to give that to CaptainTwig at any stages. Dignitas doing exactly what Obey did, and don't be surprised if Obey look for the Nemesis themselves in this scenario.
Obey Alliance lock in the Chronos, so the dual lane kind of set in stone, unless maniaKK plays the Terra, but I don't think so. And the last selection for Obey in their first half. Like we said, I'd like to see the Nemesis, but it will be the Sun Wukong, likely to be in the hands of, well, we don't know yet.
I was going to say, I don't know. That could very easily be CaptainTwig. We've seen him play that in the jungle. Cynosure went for a jungle. Sun Wukong as well is a god that can be played in that role. I wouldn't hate to see it in this particular lineup just because Dignitas, again, has those 2 warriors. You want to make sure that you aren't getting invaded, so just pick a warrior for yourself.
I've always liked Jungle Sun Wukong. I think that in different metas it's been more powerful than some others, and this is going to be one that is actually decent in. It's just a lot of people kind of sit there and go, why? But my question to that is sort of why not? Like, what doesn't he have that a traditional jungler would have outside of burst? But then you look at how hard that Tiger Stun hits.
That scaling is crazy. He hits really, really hard, no doubt about it.
And so at the end, I think really what helps it out is Khepri is selected alongside Chronos, Odin on the left, and the final selection will be the Nox.
Interesting.
Nox support?
No. No. Just no.
Aggro doesn't like to have any fun.
That is okay. True,
whatsoever.
But in terms of Nox support, I think it can be good. I really do. I think that it. Oh yeah, I'm the one who doesn't like to have fun. I think it can be good. It's just a matter of who would you put mid, Chronos? Then who would you put Hunter? I mean, it just wouldn't fit with the draft.
I mean, you can put Odin mid.
You could. You could also just draft Arachne, Anubis. You know, the whole A squad.
Whoa! Do not talk smack about Anubis. We will have issues.
Tom, I don't know how to tell you this, but Anubis is not the best god in the game right now.
Okay, this is actually really funny, especially since I haven't really streamed. I have played nothing but Anubis for the past, like, 72 hours.
And that's why you haven't been streaming, because you don't want to have everyone watch you lose?
No, I've won, like, 90% of my games.
Someone Smite guru this man's recent games and tell me if this is true.
Dead serious. EmilZy and Trixtank gonna be dead serious about pushing out of each other's jungle. And minions have spawned, and we'll see Obey start at the red buff. Dignitas try to defend in the mid lane and successfully do. The Okie doke kill not going to go the way of the red squad, or excuse me, the blue team.
Obey very worried about getting out pushed, so they bring maniaKK in to ensure that they're the ones with pressure in that mid lane. Problem is, that means Variety gets free reign on this right-hand side, at least for the moment. It is only going to take the minis off of the blue buff. Now Twig going to rotate in with maniaKK to secure these fire elementals. Twig's a big fan of the chivalry adventure, or not adventure, but event, clearly. I mean, he played the Osiris skin game 1. Now he's playing the Odin skin. What other skins were there? Tier skin. If this was a best of 3 and Dignitas won, could see Twig going for the tier skin. Anubis had a skin too. They could have picked Anubis.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
What do you mean you have no idea what I'm talking about?
Right side, Dig's invading. They're looking for the blue buff. maniaKK going to be kept underneath his tower. Sun Wukong kind of really needs that blue buff in order to stay as pokey as he wants. QvoFred in trouble. Bracer once, can't do it twice. CaptainTwig earns himself and his team first blood, 500 bounty.
And that's what Odin does in the early game, man. Surprise burst with that bird bomb. Good communication between maniaKK and Twig. maniaKK with the stun, guaranteeing the fact that no way to get out of that bird bomb from CaptainTwig. And that means that they're going to get pressure on this right-hand side. You said maniaKK needs a blue. Well, he's going to get one.
He's got one up front and one back at home. EmilZy go ahead and pick that one up. So fantastic stuff coming out.
I just heard an interesting factoid. F-Dot.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Production coming up clutch as always. In my ear, I heard that you are 5-4 recently with Anubis.
But if you look at the stats,
that means you lost 4 times?
Okay, I have legitimate, like, actual, like, gripes about the ones that have lost. Like, one with a DC, one with an actual troll that said in lobby. And I kid you not, we have F-Dot on the team, so I will lose intentionally. He picked the Morrigan and never left base.
You told him to pick Anubis and then he traded it to you, and then you played Anubis and lost? Nice undefeated record there, F-Dot.
I never said I was undefeated.
You literally said you won 90% of your games, so
well,
that's pretty close.
You know what? They were moral victories.
You get a lot of those these days, don't you?
I do. I really do.
Glad to hear it.
Mid lane, PrettyPriMe here. And actually, I wanted to show him the proper respect on this Nox, because I kind of alluded to Dart as his Nox support, which I guess I won't show any disrespect since he won and had one of the more memorable moments of the SPL. maniaKK in some trouble here, but PrettyPriMe on the Nox has been one of the 2 Nox players that have actually impressed me with their Nox skills. It's been him and EmilZy Stealth, 1 player in each region. I don't think there's anybody else out there that can play the Nox as proficiently as PrettyPriMe.
These are the 2 of the players that have been playing it the longest, so I don't think that's a coincidence, though, with Nox starting to become a little bit more meta. A lot of mid laners picking up this goddess in the mid lane. Wouldn't be surprised to see some more impressive performances, but I don't disagree with you. PrettyPriMe, the premier Nox player for me, certainly in Europe. EmilZy Stealth, the one in North America that I always look to. And they just have a really deep understanding of the kit, not using that ultimate exclusively for kill secure, but using it to start off a team fight to make sure that the enemy's doing less damage to your team. The shadow step knowledge that PrettyPriMe has. I remember at the Masters lane getting that insane first blood in the mid lane with it. Just these characters look so comfortable with the Nox, and it's always exciting to see them play it.
That's the key there, is how nuanced the Nox kit is. It's very easy to look at it and just go, well, yeah, big nuke, big trouble puddle, right? Okay, you got a leash, but it's really the nuances when you start the team fight, like you mentioned, and yeah, I'll never forget that at LAN, taking the movement ability first. Gets the first blood. No other ability would have confirmed that first blood, and had that not worked out, lost lane immediately. Just the confidence and the understanding of the kit, very impressive from PrettyPriMe.
Always willing to experiment a little bit in the mid lane. I think that's what's exciting.
Reason.
True. I mean, he's not going to be out here playing Anubis, but he's always willing to
stop with the Anubis hate.
you gotta be willing to pull out the Morrigan. I mean, PrettyPriMe was the first one to really show that the Morrigan is a viable character in the mid.
Variety in some trouble here. Terra ultimate going to help out. Long distance shot from Nox won't hit, but the tower dive is good. Variety able to jump away to safety. CaptainTwig still on the run, likely to catch up, especially with the double back from Variety. 1 swing and 1 basic earns it. That's the 2nd kill for Obey here in our 5th minute. Nice dive coming out from maniaKK and CaptainTwig, making sure to keep putting the foot on the gas in this early game.
Love the fact that Twig held on to his jump, just making sure that he can secure that kill with the Gungnir's Might and the shield. So even if someone was rotating in to stop him from retreating after that tower dive, he was going to be able to escape. And what was the double warrior composition for Obey that looked great. The double warrior for Obey that's looking great in game 2. It's just the fact that it's 2 different warriors.
CaptainTwig on this Odin. We control QvoFred a little bit. I'd like to see a Jar Jar Binks skin for Odin. Gungan's Might.
June 24th, 2017. A sentence was formed with words never put in that order. This is a historic moment, everyone.
Gungan's Might would be great.
I think I speak for literally everyone on Earth when I say, miss me with that.
It's been a really long day, chat.
Are we hitting real high-res hours early here today?
It's real Bomb King hours right now, dude. I'm just out here. Obey.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, we're just...
Already?
Oh, wow, variety, okay. I'm sitting here waiting. Like, you know what it is? I think it's just the the change of the game here for Obey and Dignitas. This is the top of the crop here, folks. And I think what we've seen all day has been very tumultuous, a lot of tumultuous games, very, very high action. And I might have expected a big bang fest, a big just like, hey, kills, kills, kills. And here we're just not seeing that. Why do you think it's such a different style here from these top teams?
Because these teams are better. That's it for me.
Exactly.
I mean, Europe is not one to just have those hodgepodge kills where everyone's just, you know, going at it in the mid lane.
Did you watch Rival?
They're fighting for a reason. Yeah, I did. And they didn't look like a top team in Europe during that set because they were fighting for no reason.
Sure.
It wasn't calculated aggression. It was just fighting for the sake of fighting. And that's what Obey and Dignitas have really made their mark with during the summer split is we're not going to fight you unless we can get something out of it. And even then, we'd rather just take what we want and leave, but not leave anything else up to chance. These teams, this is the way that Smite is played at the top level right now. And I think that it's more exciting to watch for me because watching these teams strategize and find those little openings to find the kills is really cool.
Right, it's about that, oh wow, that's going to be an interesting stun. Variety still likely in trouble. The jump from CaptainTwig not going to be good. That'll be enough for a retreat. maniaKK and CaptainTwig about to get collapsed on by QvoFred, dashing forward on that jungle Bellona, but not much damage there just yet. Jungle Bellona only level 8, comparatively speaking to Twiggy, who's level 9, jumping away from the root out of Trixtank. And the escape from Odin should be fine, who has built the Talaria boots. So he's got a little zoom as long as he avoids the damage in the combat.
Got quite a bit of movement speed, and we've seen Twig go for these Talaria boots as of late. A little bit more worried about his farm than his damage in the early stages, and I love it on Najah because of the easy Talaria procs with the ring toss. On Odin, you're kind of either full committing or you're not. You're not doing a whole lot of poke damage necessarily. Really probably relying on that extra movement speed to allow him to get around the map more so than the gold procs.
That's what I think the key is there. CaptainTwig takes a big chunk as Zyrhoes goes and hits him with the time rift. Now CaptainTwig needs some help. Drops down the ring for himself and keeps Variety out of trouble. Variety now exiting up on the north side. EmilZy makes the rotation, but he gets smacked by QvoFred. Jumped on top. One more shot will do it. EmilZy walks back into Qvo, but it just don't matter. maniaKK gets the kill. EmilZy finally falls to the hand of Arkkyl. Make that 2 as he takes down PrettyPriMe. Ataraxia trying to battle with Arkkyl, who then turns around and looks for the fight against maniaKK.
maniaKK's in the middle of 3. There goes the bomb over the top of Twig. Can't find anybody. Trixtank gets his ultimate up just in time. maniaKK just waiting for that Scarab's Blessing to go away and smacks him down with the magic cudgel. A 2 for 2, but Obey lose PrettyPriMe in the mid lane, and he has that Doom Orb.
That was, it was pretty rough. Oh, this early on, the Doom Orb, not too big of a deal. 0 stacks, you can't cut that in half, really, right?
No, you can't.
Just finish that?
You can't divide anything by 0, nor 0 by anything.
Yeah, I mean, you would be dividing by 2, not 0. But thanks, math guy.
You literally just said 0 stacks, can't cut that in half, and I agreed with you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it should be.
I'll never do it again.
Well, Arkkyl got a double kill. You got something fancy for that?
A Dublayun?
Oh, yeah. Where did you get that one from? I wish you could see his sanguine-eating grin right now.
Sanguine means blood. Oh, I get it.
Team Dignitas, 2-4 right now. 10.5 on the clock, and Dig still trailing. Obey wins game number 1 by a landslide. Honestly, a very quiet landslide. Game number 2, similar feelings here.
Obey didn't blow Dignitas out of the water from the very start. It was close for a while, and then it kind of fell apart from there for Team Dignitas. You're right, Obey, this game does have a very similar feeling, and Dignitas doesn't have the late game that they did in game number 1, though their late game is nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, Chronos is as good as it gets in the later stages. Jing very potent as well.
You know, I take issue, I have a little bit of an issue with this Bellona jungle. When she first came on, she was much more powerful in the way of damage and the way of chase potential. Almost, I won't compare it to Susano, but the feeling was there with the speedy passive and just unable to be outrun. And she was played in the jungle heavily, and I liked it then. I think the changes to the character that we've seen, Ryan, she's not as potent in the jungle as she used to be. I think other warrior options are more effective.
I don't disagree with you. I think it's more the fact that teams are picking this Bellona to jungle, not because it's the best jungle option, but it's because it's the best option to keep it out of the hands of the enemy solo when you pick Osiris.
But there becomes a push and a pull where at what point Terra ultimate popped? Oh, it's for the right side. Variety's in trouble. I don't think he's going to get out of this one, even with a little bit of help from his friends. maniaKK finishes that one up. Down goes Variety. That's another kill, number 5 for Obey. Here comes the cavalry, though. QvoFred, Zyrhoes, and Trixtank, right side shift.
Perfectly timed gank from Obey. Look at the items so far between the two solo laners. maniaKK's got the Gladiator Shield. He's got his Power Spike. Variety, he's going for that greedy Mystical Mail build, and when you're on that Steel Mail, you are incredibly punishable. Great recognition by Obey, and where I said the meta in EU has really evolved into punishing junglers and making sure they're behind, kind of saying about solo laners down 3 levels to maniaKK right now.
I think it's the right side of the map in general. You keep the right side down, and that allows your Portal Demon pushes, and of course your eventual Fire Giant pushes, a little bit easier time, and of course your speed buff invades. All 3 options are kept down to a minimum as far as threat is concerned when you're able to go ahead and make those moves on the right side of the map.
And that's where usually the early game has been hiding for these teams in Europe, where the mid laner and the hunter are really going for late game oriented picks right now. That's been kind of the meta that's evolved in Europe. The right side of the map is where the early game is to carry that mid and left side towards the late game. So if you can shut down the early game, then the later game characters never get a chance to get there, is the idea. It's just a matter of how is Europe going to adapt to this sort of strategy that teams have adapted to.
Yeah, I really like the push and pull and the elevation of the meta in Europe. Evolution? Sure. I actually really meant to say elevation.
Oh, okay.
Because in all seriousness, it seems like, and as we noted, this game not as action-packed as some of the other teams because they understand the intricacies of this. They need smaller windows than everybody else. So they've elevated, the meta has elevated to this cerebral sort of high thought process. Right now, a little bit more brawn than brain. As CaptainTwig just throws himself into 3 players, has the team available, and Ataraxia, where did Trixtank go? He still has the ultimate available, just got blown up, and you can shout out to PrettyPriMe. That combo from Nox prevents the ultimate from coming through from Trixtank. That was so smart from CaptainTwig. He jumps onto Arkkyl to force Trixtank back towards Arkkyl and guarantees the cage onto 2 members instead of just 1. Twig had no intentions of ever caging Arkkyl there. It was always looking for Trixtank. He just had to put him in the right spot in order to cage him. Great plays there out of the jungler for Obey. And those are the plays that I'm talking about, Aggro, is that the windows have to be smaller, and the opportunity for these kills and these ganks are, it's just a smarter game that these teams are playing. And you know, so I you know, jokes aside, I know we're definitely having a lot of fun today, but you know, absolutely, the meta has been elevated at the top end of the European scene. I don't disagree with you. The fact that these teams don't fight unless there's a reason. The picks and ban strategies have gotten better and better from these teams. Very rarely do you see a team outright lose a draft because of picks and bans. Yeah. You see teams win drafts because of picks and bans, but not lose them, and I think there is a very distinct difference there. I mean, even game 1 of this set, I would argue that Obey won in picks and bans in how they transitioned their picks into the game. They did a better job of adapting their strategy according to their draft than Dignitas did. And yet there was nothing wrong. Well, QvoFred might have something wrong with him. He's stuck. He's rooted, but he'll be fine. There was nothing wrong with that Morgan first selection by Team Dignitas. I think there was nothing wrong. In fact, everything was right with the Nemesis selection and response. Yep. So yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun really watching these teams and Europe in general sort of progress and become these dominant powerhouses. And it's a nice turning of the tides. I mean, Energy has been the world champions for 2 years running, but in general, NA has generally seemed to step. It used to be Energy, North America, and then Europe, and now Europe has sort of like caught up, and it's fun watching Europe be the dominant region. It has been a lot of fun, and I figured it out today. So Hindu Man has been saying that he thinks NA is probably going to win Worlds this year because, in his words, it's because the region that you think is going to lose always ends up winning. But I think he's trying to Caster's curse NA. I think he's going long con on this one. Yeah, it makes sense. Long con, out con, in con. Either way, Hindu Man's always trying to con somebody. Oracle's on the left side, go to Obey. They have the vision. Team Dignitas have the numbers, though. 4 players here to Obey's 3. There comes CaptainTwig right on in with the blink. And he's going to separate his team from the enemy. Well done with the big ring.
Trixtank does get popped because of the Nox ultimate, but maniaKK is waiting for him
Double stun.
in that mid lane. 2 members show up to support their support, but maniaKK still looking for it.
Still can't catch up, though. Nice stun coming out from Variety, keeping his support alive. 4 players from Obey pushing up in the mid lane, likely to see this tower fall down. QvoFred jumps on top of maniaKK. So does Variety on that Osiris. maniaKK still able to get out. Can't say the same for EmilZy, although he does finally. And there's going to be the dash away. What looked like a full onslaught from Obey becomes a full retreat as they get pushed out of the mid lane, mainly by the rotation from Arkkyl.
Arkkyl definitely doing a lot of damage right now. Second on his team in player damage, and so is Ataraxia. He's on second on his team as well. As Arkkyl in some trouble. That ultimate already back up for CaptainTwig. Arkkyl forced to use the airstrike to get away.
Yeah, I mean, Odin in general, his ultimate is on a very low cooldown. You couple that with the Breastplate of Valor, built 3rd item, 20% CDR, and he's really going to be able to drop the ring at any point's notice, which is good because it's kind of all Odin does at level 14.
I mean, Bird Bomb's still hitting pretty hard at this stage of the game. Sitting at level 14, you've got both abilities max. You've got the Mass Immune to give yourself that 50 power, quite a bit in that kit, and the scaling not as poor as it used to be on abilities like that Gungnir's Might. So I think Odin transitions a little bit better towards the later stages than he used to, but I don't disagree that we're getting dangerously close to the time where Twig will become that ultimate bot. And as long as he's making sure these cages matter whenever that Phantom from Trixtank is on cooldown, that's enough. That's all Odin really needs to do.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up statement, is that, like, yeah, that tough noogies for Odin, you don't really have that interesting of a kit, but the ring is all you need. It's so powerful. It's going to force out that Phantom. It's going to be up roughly 2 times for every 1 time Phantom's available. Gold Fury started here by Dig, but they're likely to retreat. And that'll be the full retreat. Now it's an all-out to push forward with the Terra ultimate, jumping up and down. And there's PrettyPriMe to be caught up. QvoFred on the chase. The hammer's going to be avoided thanks to the mitigation of the Aegis. PrettyPriMe safe on the tower. For now, as QvoFred takes him out off camera. Trixtank going to be next for maniaKK. The monkey gets the kill. Variety getting chased by 3 players right side. Left side, however, CaptainTwig finishes Zyrhoes off underneath the tower. 2-on-1. As Arkkyl's there as well. CaptainTwig don't care. Fighting the Hunter. Mid-tier 1. Variety chase underneath.
Twig in a little bit of trouble here from Arkkyl still, but Arkkyl's been forced out of this fight entirely. Variety is going to be able to escape underneath the safety of his tier 2. Arkkyl might be getting baited a little bit here. Goes for the airstrike, so he's safe. Smart plays there.
Yeah, Arkkyl has been very careful and very cautious. I really enjoyed watching Arkkyl this game. Because he's staying from a distance, and then he goes up and close and personal when he knows he's going to get ringed. And then he just baits it out with the ultimate. Nice plays coming out from Arkkyl.
Oh, Variety missed the 2. He missed the 2. Now he's going to die, I think. Ataraxia's here. No ultimate. And Variety falls when he thought he was the one going to get the kill. Honestly, either way, I think Variety likely dies and would not have been worth it. Variety 0-4 right now on this Osiris, level 14.
Not his best set, to be honest with you. Not even just game number 2. The Robin really wasn't that exciting either. In game number 1, Gold Fury going to go ahead, and it's leashed out and stolen by Team Dignitas. Oh boy, Bay can't be happy about that. That was the one that was supposed to push them up in the lead. Instead, Team Dignitas stays relevant, only down 2K.
No.
Ataraxia falls down. QvoFred 2, 3, and 3 on the jungle Bellona.
You can just look up the last 45 seconds of action underneath the how to tilt off the face of the planet dictionary listing. I mean, that is brutal. You not only lose that Gold Fury because you jump off of it because you're scared of some abilities that really aren't going to steal it or kill you, and then you lose 2 members. You might be able to make that 3 as Twig is forced to use his cage to get away. The Terra's Blessing also used by EmilZy, and now Dignitas, they're going to get another objective in their book. That's the Portal Demon, so...
That's tie game?
That's tough, man.
Yeah, I mean, Dignitas were down 2,000 with the Gold Fury. They were down 3,000 almost with the Gold Fury. That puts them down 5K essentially, right? Which would have been, I mean, 5,000 is the first step that a team can make to say, we are stronger than you in every team fight. When you look at 2,000 to 3,000, all right, y'all got like 0.1 of an item. We can still fight into that. Obey lose that 5K lead and instead wind up trading the lead out. Dig, they're up by 600 for illustrative purposes. That's a lead change. Obviously, the game tied right now. Variety again finds himself in trouble. This time, Trixtank here to help out. Rotation through from EmilZy as well. Dash is going to secure the route onto Variety, who jumps forward. 3 on 4. Dignitas have the numbers, but do they have the power?
Here comes PrettyPriMe, though, and Zyrhoes going to take a lot of damage. Trixtank with the ultimate. Nice ultimate out of PrettyPriMe. Dodges out Zyrhoes, and instead goes for Variety. Zyrhoes rewinds right into the middle of the entirety of Obey.
Saves his life for the second, but not for the long term. Right into the clutches of the opposition as Zyrhoes goes. Variety will opt to go back to base. Stopped is the back.
Arkkyl, he gets rooted in place, and a deleted Prime is doing it all right now for Obey. Trixtank on the run. Twig's going to knock him down.
QvoFred gets silenced out of the hammer. Wonderful play by PrettyPriMe. I almost thought he was going to take 3 players with 1 ability.
He really could have. Bludgeon would have absolutely killed Ataraxia, maniaKK, or Twig. Whatever unlucky soul got their skull cracked by it. But Prime was on point yet again.
That's the understanding that I'm talking about.
Yeah, just always on point with those. His combos were there as well. The ultimate forcing Variety out from a distance. Variety could have potentially stayed around without that. Look at how much damage that Siphon Darkness did that fight. Yeah. Almost 1,600.
That's scary.
That's multiple rotations, but that's a lot of damage. Look at how much Prime did in total. I mean, that is just a preposterous number. We're talking almost 3K in that team fight alone.
I mean, yes, it is multiple rotations, but it's on one of the hardest abilities to confirm.
Yes.
I mean, the person has to be stuck in it, right? And luckily, PrettyPriMe picks this Nox. And again, this is the biggest point I want to drive home to the fans at home, is that these selections to come out are not in a vacuum. Nox is selected here specifically with CaptainTwig and EmilZy selections in mind, as well as Ataraxia's. Multiple routes, multiple situations, which puts the opponent in a spot where they cannot move. Not just a good stun here or there, not just Nox by herself. PrettyPriMe's 1,500 damage is confirmed by everyone else.
And not only that, but it also does a great job of shutting down Dignitas' roster too. I mean, you've got Trixtank, he's not going to be able to ultimate whenever he's silenced out. Arkkyl's not going to be able to dash away if he knocks himself up if that silence comes down. We saw Qvo get interrupted there in that last engagement. There's plenty that you're picking this Nox for on both sides.
When it comes down to it, gods are all about these finer points. Team Dignitas defending underneath their tier 1 tower here. Cage out by Odin, going to separate the team a little bit. QvoFred and Trixtank take the brunt of the damage. Here comes maniaKK, wrapping around the backside, looking for the knock-up. QvoFred jumps away. Tier 1 tower is toasted, and Zyrhoes rewinds. No, save that. Gets tricked out by Trixtank, and the Chronos is safe either way. QvoFred is not. CaptainTwig pushes up and pushes down Qvo, and the tier 2 tower toasted as well. Raxia with the structure down.
Twig has so much movement speed between the speed buff, the Talaria boots out of combat movement speed buff, and that mass immune. I mean, he closed that gap. Yes, he had blink, but still felt like he was an eternity away. Still got there in time.
Damage on the Phoenix, so much so it's already dead. Variety goes the same way as the Redbird, and Arkkyl and Zyrhoes safely in their own Titan room. Trixtank, on the other hand, body block to oblivion, and Ataraxia takes down the support.
Now Zyrhoes forced into the rewind. He's going to be put in a pretty good spot here, trying to return some damage onto EmilZy. Stun is good, actually catches the dash, but it was all just a bait for Prime all the way down the mid lane. That's the deicide. Obey.
Oh no.
Find both.
They have a minion wave. No, Qvo's here.
They can't.
Okay.
Prime is so good, man.
For all, you know what? For QvoFred just laughing at maniaKK. You know what? For as slow and steady pace that the early game was, that single sequence sort of, not that you have to make up for it, but makes up for all the action. That action was good enough. That's what I'm saying.
That's why I love watching these games, man. It's a chess match, you know? It's every move from the very outset is very calculated. It's very close. And then the end, it's almost always fireworks, and that's what you can really count on from both Obey and Dignitas.
What do you know about chess? There's no fireworks in chess.
I've watched Tolly play a lot, so I've garnered quite a bit.
There's no fireworks in chess.
Well, I'm aware of that, but I'm talking about this game. The early game's chess. The late game is an explosion.
All right, Magnus Carlsen, why don't you calm down over there? 19-6. Obey leading this one by a long shot. Game number one. Very quick. Game number 2 a little bit more drawn out, but still Obey does have the reins in their hands.
Obey definitely kind of got a reality check towards the beginning of the summer split. I think that they felt a little bit overconfident. Ataraxia said it himself during the interview that we had with him last week, that they came in a little bit too confident. They got knocked down a few pegs by some of these European teams. Enix taking a game off them in the early stage of the summer split. You can tell that they have been rededicated to the focus of winning this next LAN, really looking like a top-tier team once more.
maniaKK in his zone, 3 players out by his lonesome, just maniac things. As the rest of the team looks at the tier 2 tower, CaptainTwig gonna make the rotation as well.
Twig is here, level 20, looking for a cage potentially, but Variety has his passive ready to go, so that cage wouldn't make any impact at all onto that solo laner. Instead, it's just Twig and maniaKK zoning away the rest so that Ataraxia and PrettyPriMe can get to work.
Now, Ataraxia is still trying to push up. Meanwhile, CaptainTwig jumping backwards. Keep in mind, left Phoenix and right Phoenix, the only ones up. Very spread out as Obey. This is actually really bad positioning coming out from them.
But they already used the cage and got that Phantom out from Trixtank, so this is why you see Obey starting to back up. Fire Giant and Portal Demon are about to be available, and so Obey can either take the objectives and probably win the game off of those, or force Dignitas to come into them and fight and take the game off of that. As soon as Twig's ultimate is up, don't be surprised if he's looking for that blink cage.
Portal Demon already done. Variety gonna jump over the top, not enough to secure it, and basically could have just given his life away. Bracer saves him for the moment. Beautiful knockup. Arkkyl, the man, the king, the legend, finds a couple of knockups, great crowd control, and completely turns that fight around, saving his solo laner's life, forcing Obey out of the conversation. Arkkyl by himself saves what could have been the game.
Variety also had a big 3-man ultimate there that set up for Arkkyl, but I don't disagree with you. Ataraxia had both relics and just blew up before he even hit the ground.
Just got destroyed.
Perfect funneling there by Variety. Basically herds all of Obey into that narrow corridor and allows Arkkyl to make that play.
And so if Variety goes down right there, I mean, the rest of the team fight is said and done, and Obey push and win the game. That gust, I mean, you saw Ataraxia die Hebo style in the air off of the knockup. Arkkyl saves the game for one more push. I mean, I'm not saying that wins the game for Team Dignitas, but the game could have ended right there. And that play from Arkkyl, absolutely one of the most important plays of this game.
I don't disagree with you. Saying it 4-2-1, he's top of his team in player damage. Doing what he can on this Jing way. A lot of, he's gone for a kind of hybrid build. Some pen between the Ichaival and the Executioner, then the Chin Sides, which I love, up against these double warrior for Obey. But then into the Wind Demon. This is kind of the awkward nature of Jing Wei, where you have crit in your kit. And so you want to utilize that by building more crit chance. But at the same time, against this roster from Obey, I think the pen build would have served Arkkyl a little bit better. It's just, you feel like you're giving something up no matter which route you go for on Jing Wei.
I would have rather, you know what, on the Jing Wei, I don't mind the last item throwaway Deathbringer. I have it, so why not? But I don't like it. I agree with you. I would have liked the full pen and then just toss a Deathbringer at the end. CaptainTwig gonna toss himself at Team Dignitas here, and that's really how he's been successful. Walks up, baits a bunch of stuff, drops a cage, baits the relic, and then walks away. Variety not gonna have the luxury of walking away by himself, instead needs to be helped out by Trixtank. CaptainTwig in trouble, half HP on the Odin. Obey pushing forward, Zyrhoes with the wraparound, looking for the big damage, and he gets it! 1-for-1 as EmilZy takes out Zyrhoes.
But again, Ataraxia falls with both relics. I don't think it's gonna matter as much this time though, because Prime is swinging. Trixtank locked in. Another kill goes Prime's way. He combined to blow up Zyrhoes before he could get a relic or an ultimate off. This late game Nox damage is just becoming too much to handle for Dig.
16,324 damage out of the mid-mage. All of it has been relevant damage. We like to talk about fake damage or bonus damage. Every single chunk that PrettyPriMe has exerted has resulted in either a kill or a chase away that winds up being as good as a kill.
Prime uses his teammate to get inside to make sure Variety doesn't hit him with that ultimate. Nox ultimate comes out and actually doesn't do anything there. Qvo not going to be too worried about that one. And with Arkkyl returning courtesy of his passive, good call from Obey to back up and reset again.
21 kills for Obey so far as we just passed the half-hour mark. Team Dignitas staying in this game simply by definition. They've been down 10,000 gold for almost 15 minutes now, and it's been pretty troublesome for them coming into this one. they lost game number 1. I still think they can take game number 2. That's kind of the nice part about lasting this long in the game, aggro, is that the gold lead is just there to tell a story. One team fight, either direction.
EmilZy getting pretty low, as is Variety. Ataraxia shows back up and is immediately focused out again. Variety has to receive that Scarab's Blessing, and Twig going deep into the back line. Cage isn't quite up, though.
maniaKK takes out the Hunter. There's going to be trouble as QvoFred. He's lonely on the top side. EmilZy gets chased out. Good job by the damage dealers out of Team Dignitas, but it's ultimately Ataraxia that serves it up. Trixtank and Arkkyl, the dual lane, the hope for Team Dignitas in this game, are toasted. maniaKK takes out QvoFred as well. CaptainTwig takes out Zyrhoes. These are all individual fights across the map, Ryan. And with Fire Giant down, it looks like the final push for Obey is done.
They've got quite a bit on these respawn timers. 50 seconds for Zyrhoes. The next one up is going to be Trixtank, and who really cares at 33 minutes about the support respawning? Can just knock down these Phoenixes and go for the end potentially. Though Arkkyl is up at about 20, a little bit concerned.
They're just going to knock down these Phoenixes. Absolutely true.
And knock down Variety as well.
They're going to knock down Variety. Absolutely true. Obey Alliance earned game number 1, and they've earned game number 2. Here, long fight. In the second one, however, Obey 2 games above Team Dignitas. There were a lot of questions at the beginning of this split. Is Dignitas the best team in the region? Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
Obey answers that with a resounding, we don't think so, and 2-0 above the opposition.
They weren't today. That's all I can tell you. It's a matter of who's going to be the best team in the world right now at DreamHack Valencia. We've got Europe all figured out. Obey looking really strong right now. I'm sure no NA team wants to go up against Dig.
No.
They probably don't want to go against Obey or Energy or Rival for that matter. It's just going to be scary stuff for NA at DreamHack.
Absolutely. I mean, North America is certainly on the bottom card here. Europe just looking strong all along the way. Very fun watching 1, 2, and 3 sets. And of course, this last set very different as the top end teams just play a very cerebral, more mind-oriented game.
Slow it down and then blow it up towards the end. That's basically Europe's strategy right now. And there's plenty of tape. I mean, we make jokes at NA's expense all the time, but I really do think that there's a good chance that NA comes out and surprises us at DreamHack.
Sure.
These are rosters that have tons of potential, and Europe does as well. I mean, I'm looking forward to a phenomenal event.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, tomorrow we will see the finish of North America, but Europe has been just as fun, and now we do have everybody sort of qualified for Valencia. That, of course, is our summer finals over at DreamHack in Spain. So that's when we'll see everybody kind of wind up there. As I said, the table has been set pretty much for Europe. And to break that down a little bit more, we've got the desk. It's that guy and Taco.
Welcome back to the desk. I'm that guy, and she's Taco. What a day of games we had in EU. From start to finish, just a wild ride.
Just a wild ride, but overall, fairly clean gameplay coming out from everybody involved, except for maybe that first set. That was a little bit of a doozy if you're a rival, but more importantly, that last set that we just got to witness between Obey and Dignitas just really goes to show there's still a lot that both of these teams are withholding, I think, from each other, and definitely looking to come out with a bang in Valencia.
I mean, I think everybody was looking at this set as a split. I mean, how could either team really find the 2-0? I mean, honestly, if anybody was looking to do a 2-0, they were probably looking at Dignitas just because they've been so strong and they've only dropped a couple of games so far. But then looking at like Twig's performance in Game 1 and in Game 2, but Game 1 specifically was just insane.
He had the absolute time of his life on this Osiris jungle, and it's not the most conventional jungler. We've seen it a couple of times, but never really to the amount of success that Twig was able to bring out on it. He just went absolutely insane on this pick. Really nobody on the side of Dignitas could stop him.
I mean, Twig does what Twig wants to do, and he's always kind of that unselfish jungler. He likes to set up his teammates to get the kill, and if he has to die for that, he doesn't really care, as it's always worth it if he can find the kill.
And of course, I mean, it just worked out so well all around. He had that beneficial factor to really aid maniaKK, who kind of just popped off in game number 2. And really, I think that these two working together on these warriors was just way too much pressure for Dignitas to try and handle. They got away with the early leads, and they just kept rolling with them. It was so much frontline for Obey that PrettyPriMe was basically able to just free cast in the back line, and then they weren't really permitting Arkkyl or anybody that would look to carry normally on Dignitas to just get away from them.
I mean, we talk about Dardes and Jermaine as being the Bruise brothers, but maniaKK and Twig are just as, like, they're going to want to punch you in the face, and they do it regularly. So, I mean, like, this is not a duo to sleep on. They will fight you every which way they can, and a lot of the times they just come out on top.
I think that they definitely came out on top in this set, and a lot of people, like you mentioned, might have been looking for that FP as far as the split is concerned, but a little bit of an upset there, I would say, going towards Obey. But you can't call it too much of an upset. I'm really not certain what word to use in this circumstance, just because these are two very strong teams in EU, have a lot of respect for both of these guys, and can't wait to see how everything plays out in Valencia.
For sure, these two teams, we're going to see them again more than likely. I mean, you think, I mean, you know, we saw them at the spring finals, so maybe that'll translate, but you can never count anybody out in the EU so far. However, looking at our first game of the day, Rival and Elevate, you know, we talked about Elevate potentially being the spoilers. They were the spoilers. 2-0 for Elevate over Rival. Who could have seen that coming?
I don't think that anybody saw it coming. I definitely didn't see it coming. Even having the substitute on the side of Rival, I had enough faith in the mechanical aspect for this roster. They'd be able to pull it together, still come through with a split, if anything. But Elevate securing that 2-0 victory over Rival, and so handedly, too.
I mean, they're just showing that everybody that they're here to play, they're not going to go to relegations. They're just here to, like, fight for their right to be in the SPL, and they really showed why that they are an SPL caliber team. Looking at game one, no numbers in that solo lane, just had a phenomenal game. Like, in whatever he wanted to do. We see the Sun Wukong again, and we're seeing the Sun Wukong more and more lately.
I think Sun Wukong for a lot of teams tends to be more favored than Bellona or Osiris right now, just because he can provide such a nuisance in the backline between the Tiger Stun, the Ox Form. You've just got the Eagle for the mobility. Plus, he's got the slow in his kit. Magic Cudgel's got a decent range to secure kills, and the tower diving aspect within his ultimate.
And then you had, you know, the Tiger CC into the Scylla ult. I'm a monster. Like, that's ridiculous. You can't. We've seen these kind of comps before with Cherio on the Ninja, but then game two, Dardes with the Nox support.
You see it every now and then in your ranked games. It's kind of one of those things where, like, you know that it's in existence. I've seen Aurora trying to make this happen a couple of times in NA, and yeah, it can work out, and you'd be surprised how much damage a Nox support can deal. It's just you never really expect it at this level of gameplay, and just the way that Dardes was able to, like, literally utilize every aspect of this Nox, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference if he was playing. He was cosplaying like Melissa, basically, with these mage mechanics.
He's listed as support, but in that game, he was just kind of doing whatever he wanted. He was just playing kill. That's all he was doing. He was locking down people, throwing out damage left and right, and he was finding it everywhere.
Sometimes that's all you got to do, but like you mentioned, it was the clean 2-0 victory from Elevate, able to prevent themselves from falling into that relegation's potential. So congratulations to Elevate, but as we progressed, and I almost didn't want to come back to this one. I think a lot of people wanted to kind of just leave it be because Enix already had the heartbreak of the year.
Enix versus Energy, they had the opportunity. Game number one, they managed to take that game. Everybody was riding high on Enix. I mean, you had Fails come out. He played amazingly, but it just wasn't enough to, like, pull out the 2-0. They get the first win, and Fails just... He's been so amazing. I mean, that's the only word I can say. Like, his growth as a player over the last couple splits has just been astronomical. It's
just one of those things where all the stars are basically aligning for you and your team, and you guys have a phenomenal performance, and your game number one, Fails is coordinating so well alongside a big man and Lobster, really just making sure everything can happen, going for these dives on the Robin jungle, really just trying to abuse the fact that he can be the tanky but damaging frontliner that they needed. And then it was just completely crushed because Energy said no and Adapting played Thor.
We see, how many times have we seen this split? When the cards are down, when Energy's back is to the wall, Adapting pulls out the Thor. You can't really ban out the Thor, so he always kind of has it there, but he only pulls it out in situations like these where they have to win.
And they didn't even necessarily have to win this one. I mean, Energy could have taken the 2-0 and still been able to progress towards Valencia. At that point, it was more so like a seeding instance. But as far as shutting down Enix, I mean, Energy are just... they're absolutely brutal, man. And the way that Adapting played this Thor today, it's almost like he never stopped playing it. I
mean, you say that Energy could have took the 2-0 there. What you know about Energy makes you believe that they could have, like, they were going to be willing to take a 2-0 there. Energy's head would have exploded.
Oh, and yeah, no, there's no way that they would have been able to let Enix take the set win over them. But I mean, either way, this was quite the battle between these two teams, and really I have to give props to Enix for playing their heart out today. I think that they did as well of a job as like anybody could have hoped for them.
Just another heartbreak for Enix, and you know, hopefully going in the next split they kind of, you know, they find their groove again and they can kind of make these incremental improvements to avoid these heartbreaking situations. Our next game, another fight, but, you know, of the lower teams, you got the Papis and Burrito fighting it out. It was an interesting game.
That was mostly just, I think, for an instance of pride, and as well as just to show that these two teams both still have a ton of progression, and they've really just done so much throughout these splits, or throughout this split, excuse me. And I think that it's evident that even though they're going to have to face off again in relegations against the incoming challenger teams, they're certainly more prepared than what they were coming into the split this season.
Game number 1, Oho Boom was on the Chronos. Kind of an unconventional pick, but he made it work. He played the Chronos well, found his kills, and I mean, again, it really seems like the Papis win condition is almost always, does Oho Boom go off? If yes, equals win.
I think that Oho Boom probably has a large deal to do with the shot calling for the team. So if Oho Boom is getting picked off or dying in these instances, it can be a little bit difficult for the Papis to know how to group and really pick out the team fights that they want to go for. But Oho Boom on this Kern, I mean, he had the peel that he needed, and he was able to just hold that left click, and that is what matters whenever you are playing a Hunter mid.
And then we see the Thor again for Johnny. He's making these strides, being a regular name in our mouths. He's pulling out all these plays as a jungler, and he just played a very, very well. He played a very good Thor. I mean, what else can you say?
And it all comes back to the whole, they don't want to be the team that leaves this split without a single win, and they were able to avoid this. And it's because of this Thor play, and it was such a back and forth between these two teams. Game number 1, it was all Papis. Game number 2, I'd say it was a little bit more even, but then there was a very clear distinction for Burrito kind of just breaking away with it.
My favorite part about the set was the after-game interview where Johnny gave a shout-out to Death Panther. Death Panther finally won an SPL game.
Yeah, I'm sure that he is more than happy about it. Something about over 100 days of waiting, but he found his game 28 games later, and that is what matters.
All right, let's take a look back at over the course of the day for our schedule and scores for the day. You know, we started off with Rival and Elevate. Elevate finding that 2-0. Energy Enix splitting. Papis Burrito splitting, and then our day was ended with another 2-0 for Obey Alliance.
And really all around just excellent gameplay from all of the teams today, and I think that heading into Valencia, it's going to be quite the ride. I mean, you've got Dignitas, Obey, Energy, and Rival that are qualified now for Valencia, even though Enix and Rival are tied. Rival had the head-to-head, which is why we're saying that Rival is headed to Valencia.
That's right. So Dignitas is your number 1 seed, Obey number 2, NRG 3, and Team Rival number 4. And those are your EU qualified teams. But we still got some NA action for you tomorrow. That should be a relatively interesting day. A lot still up in the air there.
Expect a long day tomorrow. That's kind of what I'm anticipating, because these NA teams have really started heating up, I'd say, especially after the week 4 of the competition. And now with pretty much everything on the line, and I think there's like 4 or 5 different opportunities for tiebreakers, and just everything's going to be nuts tomorrow for NA.
It really will. Out of all these matchups between Trifecta, Team Allegiance, United Space Station, Flashpoint Noble, and Team AI versus Luminosity, what is your pick for game of the day? What's going to be the one that is going to be the best?
Set 2, easily. United versus Space Station, because that is what it's all going to ride on. I think tomorrow how the tiebreakers or potential tiebreakers could possibly break out is whether or not United clinch Valencia by 2-0ing Space Station, and that would be a massive upset alone just because Space Station's been playing phenomenally lately.
Space Station has really looked like the best out of NA right now. I mean, I know Luminosity is probably like the hometown heroes of the favorites, but they've kind of dropped the ball so far. And, you know, Space Station's really picked it up, and they've just been following their stride to first place.
It'll definitely be a very fun day as far as NA is concerned, and figuring out where all of these teams are going to ultimately end up. And I mean, really for that one, you've just got to tune in tomorrow.
All right, yeah. What else could be said? That's it for us on the desk. Join us tomorrow for our hot NA action. We'll see you tomorrow, guys.